If you live in a rural shithole, you are fucked. You know what? I've been thinking a lot recently about where some of us grew up. Some people in the city, some people in the countryside. I'm based in Ireland. It's really bad RNG if you're kind of like me, where you have a loving family and everything. You've grown up in the countryside, rural shithole, middle of nowhere. You're with the farmers, all the cultures, and it's great for some peace and quiet. It's not as peaceful as you think it is, depending on how loud your family is. But you have bad luck, basically. When you want to make social connections or anything, usually you want to be in more populated towns or cities. But when you're in the countryside, you really are limited to your neighbors and who you went to school with. And what do you do when, you're out of school and you're at home? People from your workplace, all the places that you can go out, it's all culture bars. It's just old people. Come on. Where's all the fucking young people in the countryside? Good luck trying to date in the countryside, by the way. If you want to stay single, live in the countryside, where you don't see near as many people. If you want to go and date, a city or somewhere more populated is the way to go. I remember the benefit of living in the countryside. It used to be cheap. Things were cheaper in the countryside, still is, but it still takes a hit on your wallet now compared to what it used to. I remember you could get sweets and stuff for a few cents. I remember when the punt was just being disbanded in Ireland and we're switching to euros. And you could get like a big shovel of sweets for 50 cents or a Freddo bar for barely 20 cents. Now they're trying to charge a fucking nearly €1. There's also the problem of when you're living in the countryside, it's harder to find high-paying jobs. Option one is you commute into the city. You spend 2 hours a day commuting. Or option two is where you move there and then you pay the outrageous rent. So you're kind of limited in that sense. There seems to be a huge money paywall, especially if you live in the countryside. If you want to go out to bars more in the city, you have to pay for a place for the night to stay. You pay a taxi back and you split between your mates. It could be 120 quid in total, 130. It's fucking ridiculous. And don't get me started about the lack of jobs around the countryside. Oh, don't even want to get into that. Just a bunch of minimum wage jobs or ones that kind of cap off how much you can make. If you want to do anything like cold calls or anything, you have to go into the city unless you're very lucky to get a solid remote job. But it's seeming less and less common in Ireland. There seems to be a real lack of social connections. There seems to be a lack of social connections, like volume-wise, in rural shitholes. You meet less people, there's less traffic, there's less opportunities for you to form relationships. And if you're into something like YouTube, or something very specific, or a niche, or you're a coder or something, it gets harder and harder to find people in the countryside that are like-minded. I cannot find anybody like me that wants to just work remote, go live abroad, and maybe try to build something. Everybody's doing a trade, which is great. We always need them. But it's not what I want to do. And I know it's not a lot. And I know it's not what you, the viewer, probably want to do. Most of yous anyways. I still do love working with my hands, though, helping building stuff, helping my dad. It's cool, don't get me wrong. I get the appeal, but I want to go somewhere different. I don't want to just grow up here my whole life. I know people that want to stay here and they want to spend the rest of their days in a local village. And that's good and all, maybe when I'm like 60, but I want to go do things. I want to go experience things. And there just seems to be this huge paywall as well. They go say, enjoy your life, have fun. But to do that, you need money. Money is always the means to an end. And no matter how much I think, you always need to go back to it. It's such a paywall these days. If you even want to leave the house, this is including the countryside, travel, you need money. If you work especially, say you get lucky with a professional job out of college and you're traveling into the city, you got to stick with it to build credentials and build an income that's actually worth your time. Everyone in Ireland specifically, this applies to other countries. Everyone in Ireland, this also applies to like other countries and stuff. They just seem to work all the time from my observations, and they just get screwed by taxes, and others just opt out and claim social benefits like we have here. We have job seekers allowance at the dole. And by the time you actually build a meaningful income after 5+ years in college and work, building up your credentials, you can afford to leave the house and travel, you can leave the countryside. And by that time, you're kind of out of your youth, which would have been like the best time, I think, to travel, anywhere from 18 to kind of mid 20s. All in all, if you want to experience life, you don't want to work yourself to the bone. But to experience life, you need to get good work to make the money to experience life, to escape the rural shithole, to be able to go do all these things. All in all, to escape the rural shithole, it all comes back to money. And I see so many people I've known work themselves to their stressed until they freak out. I've known people that have dropped out of college while trying to work as well from the stress of it. And it takes a real toll on people's mental health. We don't like to talk about that in Ireland necessarily. And I'm not really a fan of talking about my feelings. I prefer to just take action. And going back to the RNG and say the family you raised with, if you live in the countryside and you don't have a great family, my family was all right. We've had our trials and tribulations, like my brother fighting and all. But if you were raised to be a certain way, your beliefs are constricted to the rural shithole and what people talk about and gossip down in the pub and all the local drama just makes your world feel real small. There's such a massive world out there besides our rural shitholes. And we're literally just, it's so close yet so far. It's so close within my reach, I could just get a ticket. But I'm just out of college, have no money, and I have all this energy and I don't know what to do. But I'm also burnt out, so I'm not going straight into work. I'm trying to search for a graduate role in my profession, cybersecurity. But even then, I've done 4 years in college and the starting pay is what, 40 to 50k or something. That's like after tax 800 quid a week maybe. And then by the time you commute there and come back and spend 100 plus on fuel and then also conveniences, you probably only have 500 left over between food as well. Maybe 400 probably after whatever. And at that point, you could have nearly worked a cash job and you could have claimed the bloody dole, and that would have put you up at 500 quid a week. And all you'd have to do is work a decent job, cash job, for 2 days a week, and you would already be sorted. You'd be making the amount, and you wouldn't have to stress. You wouldn't have to leave the rural shithole. You could just chill out there. But there's no form of progression is the only issue. So the only road I can see is doing 2 years in my profession to build it up, and I'm still going to do that regardless. But I'm always looking for other alternatives. To escape the shithole, you just got to take meaningful action. You just got to keep trying, and you cannot be afraid of failure. And it seems there's some people, based on the RNG look, there seems to be like two classes. The people that middle kind of working class, they get by, they have a countryside house, they can just about afford to pay, and the parents are working into late age. And then there's the others that are being, well off with money, and their parents can afford to pay them to travel or set them up with a good job. And set them up with a good job abroad. And it really divides the quality of life. You have the rich people who are not well off, being able to afford to travel and having these social connections that are already established via their parents, maybe other countries that they can travel to that they have connections. I know well off people that were in my school. I went to a private school. My parents scraped by just paying that for me because they wanted me to have a good education. And they're going to Dublin College, the best ones, UCD, Trinity, DCU. These are good colleges in Ireland, and it has probably one of the better party scenes. and they're having their whole apartments paid for and everything just because they have an aunt that owns an apartment or owns property, while other ones of us are paying hundreds a week. And I know people that are paying like 250 a week and they live with 6+ other people. It just doesn't make sense. It's just not fair. That's what the voice in my head is telling me. But I know I can do better, and I know you can do better too. You just need to calmly strategize and plan and lay out a roadmap. Get the skills that you need that are relevant. Find a place that has a good cost to expense ratio and get the fuck out of your rural shithole.